Now, amidst all of this chaos currently surrounding Cowboy football, some Greg Swaim opinions would be kind of nice. But unfortunately, our buddy had to be selfish and go on home to hang out with Boone, a little bit premature. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Greg and how he was absolutely phenomenal for the Oklahoma State world, for high school basketball, especially in the state of Oklahoma, the recruiting, the scouting, all of that fun stuff. Now, whenever I first tried to get into this industry, I reached out to some of the Scott Wrights and the Robert Allens and the Feels Like 45s and the Believe in OK States of the world, just to kind of get a general understanding of how the media operates and how to kind of maneuver within the space and how to do a podcast, this, that, the other. Greg Swaim, I thought, was, a little higher up the echelon board for me to send a message to. But thankfully, Greg sent me a message after a couple months doing the show and gave me a little bit of advice and said he loves the passion, energy, all that fun jazz. And then I naturally asked him if he would like to come on the show because he was an absolute legend in my mind. He was unobtainable in the beginning of me doing this. And you know what? These last 2 years have gone by fairly quickly. And I know a decent amount of it is because Greg helped me kind of navigate within the spaces and give me some connections on who to talk to and who to kind of avoid and what topics to avoid. Now, you'll be happy to hear, most of you, that every time I was overly critical of Gundy, he would message me and say, dude, it's not popular, no matter if it's true or not. Oklahoma State fan base is not going to be a fan of you viewing Gundy negatively. So there's that. But I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and we discussed doing a show that I'd put out after he went home to the big guy to hang out with Boone. And, we discussed some of the show and how it would go and how he'd be off screen because he was hooked up to the ventilator and you can hear the noise and everything. And we were definitely going to work around it. I wanted to work around it, but unfortunately, he went a little sooner than he expected, or at least he wanted to wait a little bit longer. But I do know he was in a lot of pain, and this is something that he'd been dealing with for quite some time now. So he was prolonging the issue to some degree just to kind of hang around and get some family things in order before he went on home to the big guy. Greg was absolutely massive for me. And I think our funnest point of connectivity was during all of the Pac-12 disaster. The Kazanzos, whatever his name is, and Tony Altamore's and the Monty Show, and some of those Pac-12 West Coast publications were blasting people like me and Greg for being part of the hashtag Big 12 Anon. And Greg would message me like, "Hey, I hear you're part of this crew." So we would kind of talk about information and what we're hearing and how we're hearing it and where we're getting it from, and that actually brought us closer together. The fact that we were both catching so much heat for pretending the Big 12 was ever going to have any relevancy and how the Big 12 was ever going to survive, and anybody watching my show or listening to Greg is just crazy because the Big 12 is not going to survive. It's not, as profitable or as marketable as the Pac 12, this, that, and the other. And from then on, he was very instrumental in me acquiring some of the basketball information that I have been over the years and having some of the connections and the information in regards to recruiting and what Bryce Thompson went through at KU and the transition here and some of the stuff that Mike Boynton was doing and not doing. And I have a lot of admiration for Greg. And he even took my money because I was dumb enough to bet against him on basketball. You learn lessons in life. But yeah, honestly, couldn't do this Sunday for whatever reason. I blame Cowboy football, and that's where I'm going to stay with. But yeah, it's definitely going to suck not having Greg on the show. It's going to be, I don't know, different for me for sure. And it should be different for Oklahoma State fans who didn't like Greg. Greg loved O State. He bled orange. But at one point in time in his career, he was tired of getting suppressed and attacked and beat up over stuff that he knew was true. And so he kind of distanced himself from covering Oklahoma State specifically. And he opened doors for a lot of Oklahoma high school athletes in the sport of basketball to get in on the coaching or being a referee. Just be missed by a significant amount of us. And if you're part of the crew that didn't like Greg, just know that dude bled orange like crazy. And yeah, he had a lot of people in his corner. And that's what matters because he built a lot of connections. And he was one of the few people in the beginning that gave me advice and helped me kind of navigate around how to do things and how certain articles should be written. And I will always be indebted to Greg. So I'm a little salty, all right, that you left a little earlier than my schedule, all right. But definitely love everything you provided for me, for Oklahoma State, a guest on the show. I know his sons are going to kind of continue with a lot of the basketball scouting, recruiting style of situations. So make sure that you follow them. And if anybody from Greg's family wants to reach out, feel free to do so. But yeah, my partner in crime is hanging out with Boone. All right. He's going to top rope everybody. And ironically, when we talked about some of the things that we were going to do on the final show that I was going to put out afterwards, where he wasn't going to be on screen, it was about Oklahoma State. And he said that hopefully the coaching staff is entirely different. Well, Greg, looks like it's going to be, buddy. So that was a good parting shot on your way out the door. I see you. All righty. So we're going to have. Love you, bud. Don't have too much fun. Look down on us with all the orange in your heart and cheer for us to find our way out of this purgatory that we're currently in football wise. And hey, the Steve Lutz, Eddie Sutton style of basketball, the brand is back, baby. Have fun. Not too much fun. Glad you're not in pain anymore. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for being a diehard, true and true cowboy. And thank you for being willing to ruffle feathers, even when it wasn't always going to be popular. All righty, y'all. This went even longer than I thought it would. It's not a show. My bad. We're going to record a show, though, so hang out for that. God bless. Go, Pokes. God bless you, Greg Swaim, your family. I appreciate you, dude. You're my guy. You're my boy, Blue. Later, my tater.